I want to say before you came here, most of you are doing writing. Most of them were essays. In essays, you write. You express your own ideas that may come from your mind or your heart, or you may have heard, or even rumors. But in academic writing is a different set of writing that I will endeavor to teach you. And by 1 week, I want to make you scholars who will write credible research papers, term papers, and even to give you an introduction to proposal writing and thesis writing. Number one, I want to say, let's begin by defining a research paper. Please, you may pick these ideas, they may be useful for you. A research paper is an extended piece of writing. It is an extended piece of writing based on an in-depth and independent research. Research is searching again. So when you write in academic writings, you do a research. You write an extended piece of writing based on an in-depth and an extended and an independent research. It may involve empirical observation. Do you know the meaning of the word empirical? Empirical, for those who have studied philosophy, knowledge, there are those who believe in knowledge can be found through rational way of thinking or empirical way of observation. And I want to tell you, observation is by the 5 common senses. In empirical research, you observe things. You are doing research, you observe. I can go to Lady Maria and observe the way they are doing. I just observe, I become a passive participator. I write, and that becomes research based on empirical observation. Number 2, which I want us to deal with now, we analyze primary and secondary sources. But for your case, more often than not, we will analyze secondary sources. And the secondary sources includes the books that we have in the library. Therefore, academic writing is inextricably intertwined with our library. You have to go to the library, read, research, and your writing should be based on the research that you have done from the library, from the books that you have read. When you write well, you demonstrate strong knowledge on the topic. You cannot write. You cannot write without having strong knowledge on that topic. One, the most important thing as you write is to identify the topic of the research. Identify the topic. Every teacher who is going to teach you in this particular institution will give you work to do. 30% of the marks that you gather in this institution will be derived from your coursework. The research that will be given to write on a particular topic, it will gather 30%. Therefore, it must be based on good knowledge from the library. Like me, in the Old Testament survey that I'll just begin to talk to you in some few minutes, I expect you to write a particular topic on a particular book. There are 39 books of the Old Testament, beginning from the Pentateuch, which are the first 5. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. You can choose any book, but I am not allowed to choose to choose the same book. Or you can go to the historical books. The historical books are 12, which are Joshua, Judges, Ruth, First Samuel, Second Samuel, First Kings, Second Kings, First Chronicles, Second Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, and Esther. From there are books that we call them poetic or wisdom literature. And these books include Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Songs of Songs. From there, we go to the major prophetic books: Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentation, Ezekiel, and Daniel. From there, we go to the minor prophets. We begin with Hosea. Begin with Hosea, Joel, Obadiah, Amos, Jonah, Micah, Nahum. Then we have another prophet called Zephaniah. Then we have Habakkuk, Haggai, then Zechariah, and we conclude with Malachi. And you become a scholar. When you go home, you tell them I've studied the entire Old Testament. But you must write for me 10-page term paper. And the format is what I'm trying to give you. Choose a topic. Since this is a class now, the topic that you choose, you must get my approval. Choose the topic. Choose the topic well. And that is, you must communicate. As you are writing, you must communicate originally. You must communicate well and with an original thought. I want to say that it must have a clear style and it must follow the conventions of academic writing. The first thing that you must know in academic writing, it must follow the instructions of the assignment. The instructions that I've given you are abundantly clear. And I have said what? You choose a particular topic from a particular book in the Old Testament. Get the clearance from me. Identify the topic that you want to write. You may write about the themes of a particular book or the authorship of a particular book. That is the topic. Get the clearance because you are beginning, so that I may know that you are on the right track. And then the introduction. All writings have 3 parts. Number 1, there is the introduction. Make your introduction to be interesting, to be appetizing, and the introduction contains something that is very critical. It's called a thesis statement. It must be contained in your introduction. A thesis statement. A thesis statement must be contained in your introduction. It must be well captured. What do you intend? The thesis statement is the summary in a sentence of what you intend to write about. In this paper, let me give you an example. In this paper, I will endeavor to explore the authorship of the book. The authorship of the book, I'll endeavor to explore the authorship, the major themes, and the authorship. I'll endeavor to explore the authorship, the theme, and the major ideas around the book of Genesis before giving my personal observation and conclusion. In most of the institutions where people are so busy, when I read the introduction, I know exactly, and more often than not, I'm not wrong. I know if you know what you are writing about or you are not even certain. Therefore, an introduction is very, very critical. It must capture the attention. The first part of any writing is an introduction. And how you number it, Roman numeral 1, introduction. Number 2, Roman numeral 2 in another page. Maybe the authorship of Genesis. That is what you are discussing. Then number 3 is conclusion and personal application. Ensure that you keep the format intact. There is always an introduction, the body, and a conclusion. Now, the term paper should be logically organized using paragraphs and logical section headings. Should be organized using paragraphs. And I want to say the paragraph should be coherent. Each idea should follow one another. We have a problem where some students copy 100% from a particular book, and you write to me what I'm going to write on your paper, mahewa, completely hot air, because that is not a term paper. That is called plagiarism. Plagiarism is one of the academic offenses where you where you copy everything the way it is without acknowledging it and presenting it as your own. You get a 0. Therefore, the ideas should be yours. But it is not only your ideas, they should be supported by sources, which are the books. Now, each paragraph is clearly focused on a central idea and expressed in clear topic sentences. Have clear short sentences to explain the main idea of a particular paragraph. Do not, every paragraph should have this distinctive idea. But you must have connectors in between. You must join this paragraph to paragraph. Your writing should be coherent and it should be flowing. You must write something that is coherent, something that is flowing, something that is convincing, something that makes the teacher to have the appetite to read to the end. You should not just copy, but write. Write something that is coherent and is convincing. I have said the statement, the thesis statement. I have explained that the introduction should contain the thesis statement. What do you intend to write about? In a sentence. A clear, succinct summary in a sentence. Have appropriate transitions. Each paragraph should be joined. It should be flowing. Are we together? Are we together? It should be flowing. And then the conclusion should summarize what you have learned. The conclusion should summarize what you have learned. But do not introduce a new idea in the conclusion. what you have learned, what you have applied, the knowledge. Maybe change your perspective. Maybe in this exercise, I had thought that Genesis was written by Peter, but now I've come to discover that Genesis was written by Moses, and I accept the traditional Mosaic authorship. That is, in the conclusion, it should be based on what you have written about. Now, I want to detour a bit and look at every writing should have proper citations. Every writing should have proper citations. Should have proper citation. There are two kinds of citations that we have. Number one, there is the Chicago Turabian footnotes. And number two, there is APA, in-text citations. I'm going to teach you both. For all the lecturers here, they will require APA. But for me, I'll require the Chicago Turabian footnotes. Why? They are the most difficult. My purpose here is to make your life difficult, not to make your life easy. Therefore, does anyone have a textbook? Anyone? Any? Do we have a textbook here? Any textbook? Any book? Lectionary. Not lectionary, any book. Jarvis, can you run to the library and bring me one so that I put it practical, then I send you to the library. When you are doing the APA writing, you can do it in two ways. Number one, you can begin with the author. The author is Mwangi, and you write well. You say, as Mwangi, then you can put the year of publication to 2003 and you add page 16. Asserted God is sovereign. And he reigns. It is on this basis that he trusted entirely on God. Assuming this is my essay. When I look at Mwangi, I'll know it is the first time you write the name of an author, write it in full. Write it in full. But this perfect example. Thank you, Jervis. Now, this is a book by one of the theologians, George Eldon Ladd, one of the New Testament scholars. Now, let me give you a perfect example before I'll put this on the Turubian slide. Mwangi, I know this is the surname of the author. Mwangi. The year of publication is which year? 2003. The year which the book was published was which year? 2003. What about the page that you got the information? Page 16. Why do we do this? So that when I read this work, and I say this student might be tricking me, what do? I go to Mwangi and I look at the publication. There might be publication. This is in-depth citation. Now I'm going to, at the end of it in the Turabian, you write the list of references. So I look at this and say, oh, what is he saying? What is he saying? Now, I go to Mwangi in the list of references. You organize them. Alphabetically. Mwangi, John, In God We Trust. That is the title of the book. You underline, and if you are typing, you don't underline. The title of the book is always italicized. Are we together? If you are typing in Kiminini, pahali panaitwa kwa mwiriri, Kiminini. Make sure that you are italicized. Now, Mwangi John, In God We Trust. This book was published in Eldoret. Just giving you an example, Eldoret, by Kitumba Publishers. Which year? 2003. The year 2003, and you have utilized from page 10 to 17, let's say to 16. So if my student is not doing the correct thing, what do? I go look at the book by John Mwangi, In God We Trust. Eldred is 2003, page 16, and I open that book. Now, if you go page 16 and I discover that the information that you have given is not factual, you may be penalized. Therefore, as you put the references, ensure that they are accurate. Always carry pieces of paper that you record where you have gotten these citations. You record the author, the title of the book, the city that the book was published, the publisher, the year of publication, and the page. It will make your work easier. This is APA. Now, let me go to the one that I require from you. The one that is called the Chicago Turabian footnotes. Let me pick a statement here. The Bible was objectively revealed, divinely inspired, and providentially preserved. Hence, it must be studied. Hence, it must be studied critically and historically. Critically and historically. Why have I put these brackets? I have put the inverted commas, not the brackets, the inverted commas, because I have copied directly. The other one I was paraphrasing. But when you copy directly, you are supposed to put the inverted commas to imply that you have copied directly from the Bible. In Cherubian footnotes, you put number 1. This is your footnote number 1. Then you go to the base of your paper. And this is a superscript. you write number 1 on top. This is your line, you write number 1 on top here. And this book is by George Eldon Ladd. The New Testament and Criticism. That is the title. The New. In the first letters should be capitalized, except the proposition, except the New Testament and Criticism. What did I say about the title of a book? What are you supposed to do with the title of a book? You underline. Therefore, you underline here and you underline it here. Then you put a bracket and you discover the city that this book was written. It was written in it was published in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Then you put a full colon by W. M. Erisman. The year of publication, so that I don't, when I want to reference 1967, I close my brackets. And the page that I just quoted was page 13. Tuko pamoja? Now, this is in my footnotes. At the end of the Turabian, you don't have the list of references like APA. You have what we call a bibliography. In my bibliography, this one you see, this one is here, and the other one is here. You indent it. In the bibliography, you begin with the surname. What is the surname there? Ladd, comma, George Eldon. Then the New Testament, I will write from here. This one will be first, then I'll write the New Testament and Criticism. Here, they are full stops. Here, they are commas. Have you seen the difference? That's why I'm saying this one is what I expect, because my work here is to make your life easier. Therefore, I'm making it easier for you. Criticism, then you will put the name of the city that it was published. Grand Rapids, Michigan. Erisman. Then 1967. There is no pages that have been utilized here. There is no pages here because the pages are in the footnotes. So when I want to check your work to verify if it is a true academic writing, I look at the page, look at the book, look at page 13, and I find out if you are quoting the right way or the wrong way. When you are paraphrasing, if assuming you are paraphrasing, you don't put the quotation marks. You don't put the quotation mark. You may change it a bit. Must be studied carefully, analytically, and historically. You don't put the quotation marks, and number one, the same. I know the idea is not yours. The idea belongs to lab. But what you have done, you have paraphrased the idea. Are we together? Therefore, I expect you to pick a topic. Get the clearance from me. Pick a topic, get the clearance, begin writing. Write systematically. Write coherently. Write it joining. You must join. You must work with conjunctions to join the writings so that it becomes logical. There is something here that we are going to look at it later. But I want to say, in a summary, I'll finish with you in the next session. But I have summarized what you're supposed to do. Pick your topic. Read and research before you write. Let your introduction be captivating, interesting. Read it. Make sure that your paper is flowing. In the conclusion, tell us clearly what you learned, or summarize what you have. You summarize and tells us how it contributes to knowledge. Now, when you go to higher levels, when you go and do maybe degree, masters, PhD, I know in few years to come, you may go there. We will be talking about a proposal and proposal of a thesis and a complete thesis. It's normally divided into 5 sections. Let me summarize for you, just to whet your appetite. Number one, the first part of a thesis has the introduction and background to the study. You have the introduction and background of the study. What do we mean by the introduction and the background of the study? We mean you say and explain the rationale of doing that study. You give us the background of why you are studying. And the introduction and background of the study, which is chapter 1 of your research. Always there is the introduction and background. Then there is something that is very critical, it's called the statement of the problem. You cannot research something that is not a problem. You must research a problem. You must create a problem for you to do a research. There is the statement of the problem. There is the objective of the research. There is the research objectives, the research questions, significance of the study. Then the theoretical framework. On what basis are you going to do? Is it a descriptive survey? Is it what there? The second chapter, I don't want to bother you with a lot of things. The second chapter, you do what we call literature review. Literature review, you interact with sources and books. You read extensively on what you are researching. And you discover what we call the literature gap, the lacuna that you intend to fill in your research. What is your literature gap? You cannot do a research without a literature gap. What is it missing from other scholars? If you are interested, I can send you soft copy my dissertation. It's 324 pages. I wrote it while I was teaching here, so it's possible. Ukitaka nitakutumia free of charge, and let's try. I can just send you free of charge. So literature review, you get the gap. From that gap, that is when you research. Number 3, chapter 3, there is something that is called research methodology. How are you going to do your research? Are you going to use questionnaires? Are you going to do interviews? Are you going to do focus group discussions? What are the ethical considerations? You are not supposed to plagiarize. You are supposed to tell someone that you are interviewing them. You are not supposed to pick their names. And you say, who are the same I need for your research? Let's say you are doing a research on infidelity of women or men. Then wote bwana ya mtu akwambie mimi nina manga like I'm engaged in infidelity. You don't write their names because there is ethical consideration. They are confidentiality. Even the information that I extracted from the Christians, I even interviewed some of them who are here. You burn the papers. You don't keep the name of anybody. Alafu unaonyesha unaona huyu. This man is immoral. Aliniambia. Sikini yake ndio huyu. No. There is ethical consideration. And the information that you get should be used for the specific research. There is a pilot study. Before you do a study, you test. There is what we call a pilot study. And there are ways that you use to test the validity and the reliability of your research. The secondary sources that you use, mostly we do primary research, that is field work. Secondary is the library. But when you are doing subjects like exegesis, you can just do a pure secondary research. Chapter 4, you analyze the data. The data that you have collected in the field, take it, analyze. Chapter 5, you write conclusions, recommendations, summary, conclusions, recommendations, and further recommendations. Research is endless. The more you research, the more you discover there are things that you need to research. Otherwise, I think I'll end there